fandom wasn't ready. No announcement, no explanation, just a song. And suddenly, millions of listeners asked the same dangerous question at once. Was this music, or was this a reply meant for only one person? Silence arrived before the sound. No teaser posters, no countdown clocks. At the very end of December 2024, a new track surfaced quietly, almost shyly, as if it didn't want attention. But attention found it anyway. Within hours, timelines shifted. Group chats exploded. Fans didn't just press play, they leaned in. Because the song didn't feel casual. It felt intentional. The melody was restrained, soft, almost distant. Yet the lyrics carried weight, like words chosen carefully after long hesitation. This wasn't a performance demanding applause. This was a message asking to be understood. Listeners noticed something else almost immediately. The metaphors felt familiar. Too familiar. An island. Distance. Loneliness that didn't scream, it waited. And somewhere inside that waiting, fans remembered another voice. Another song released just weeks earlier. Another story about isolation, endurance, and survival without certainty. That's when curiosity turned into shock. Because if one song spoke about being stranded, why did this one arrive carrying a boat? To understand why the reaction was so intense, we need to rewind. November 2024, a solo album appears, wrapped in vulnerability and quiet strength. Among its tracks, one image stays behind like a bruise on the heart. A man waking up alone on an island. No map, no promise of rescue, just the decision to keep breathing. Listeners didn't treat it as poetry alone. They treated it as testimony, a reflection of years spent navigating storms in public silence. That island became symbolic, not of weakness, but endurance. Fans cried not because the song was sad, but because it was honest. Then December arrived. Another song, another image, and suddenly, the island was no longer empty. Don't stay on that lonely island. I'll be a small boat, not a miracle, not a dramatic rescue. A boat, something human, something that comes close. And when the lyrics continued, about finding an oasis, about returning home, the fandom froze. Because this didn't feel random. It felt responsive. The question spread faster than logic could stop it. If one song was a confession of solitude, was the other offering companionship? The moment that truly fractured the fandom didn't arrive with a high note. It arrived quietly. I will never leave. No dramatic emphasis. No vocal explosion. Just a sentence placed gently into the melody. And somehow, that gentleness made it heavier than anything loud. For years, this fandom learned how to survive absence. Support rarely appeared under the same frame. Presence was often felt more than seen. So when those words were sung, many didn't hear romance. They heard reassurance. Not I am coming. Not wait for me. But I'm already here. Then came the official note attached to the release. Short, intimate, almost unbearable in its simplicity. I am not here, but I will always be here. That sentence split the room in half. Some felt comforted. Others felt exposed. Because not here isn't just physical distance. It's schedules that never align. Cameras that never linger long enough. Lives moving forward under constant observation. Yet always here. That's loyalty spoken softly. That's choosing to stay even when staying must remain invisible. Screenshots spread like wildfire. Translations multiplied. Fans slowed down the audio, replayed breaths, traced pauses. This was no longer casual listening. It was collective holding a breath. A symphony, fans realized, requires two sides. A call and an echo. A question and an answer. And many believed they knew where the first note had begun. Predictably, resistance followed. Skeptics labeled it projection, a romantic narrative written by longing hearts. They warned against reading intention into art. But emotion doesn't ask for permission. And coincidence becomes fragile when metaphors align too perfectly. An island does not randomly receive a boat. A promise does not accidentally echo another wound. As days passed, the theory didn't dissolve. It matured. Edits placed lyrics side by side, not to prove but to feel. Threads mapped imagery like star charts, not claiming certainty, only connection. One line began circulating everywhere. He drifted alone. Someone sent a boat. This isn't content. This is correspondence. And that word changed everything. Correspondence implies care. It implies listening. It implies that someone heard the first message and chose to answer. Not publicly, not boldly, but safely. Because in this world, safety matters. Visibility has consequences. So support often wears metaphor as armor. You speak, but gently. You reveal, but carefully. You promise, but without witnesses. That's why the phrase, "I am not here," feels tragic. And "I will always be here" feels brave. No denial arrived. No clarification followed. Just music continuing to exist exactly as it was released. And perhaps that silence said enough. As of now, nothing is confirmed. Nothing is corrected. Nothing is explained. Only 2 songs remain, floating between listeners like paper boats on open water. Maybe this is coincidence. Maybe it's art meeting imagination. Or maybe, somewhere far from cameras, 2 people understand each other without needing to speak. What cannot be denied is the effect. The island no longer feels completely abandoned. The distance no longer feels absolute. And the promise, quiet, unclaimed, unnamed, feels real enough to hold. Some fans admit they cried not because they were sure, but because they wanted to believe. And wanting sometimes is powerful enough. So when you hear those lyrics again tonight, listen carefully to why they feel warmer than ordinary words. Why they sound less like performance and more like presence. Why, even across silence and separation, they seem to whisper the same thing. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. I'm still here. So, what do you think, drama lovers? Is this coincidence or a conversation written in music? Stay tuned for more stories, only on K-Pop World.